What's up everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to give you my thoughts as a professional player on the Puma ALL PRO NITRO 2. These would be a damn good basketball shoe, but one thing is really holding them back for me personally, so that might also be the case for you. Let's get straight into it and start with the retail price. They go for 130 euros or dollars, which is the same as last year's model. Nice thing that they didn't go up in price at least. For the performance categories, the traction performance, that was a big controversy on the last year model. So on the regular Puma ALL PRO NITRO D1s, the ALL PRO NITRO Elite actually had decent traction, but the regular model, if you had a solid rubber outsole, these really struggled. Now this colorway right here has a translucent outsole, so I can speak for solid rubber colorways as of right now. But the translucent colorway actually performs really good and feels better than last year's model as well. We have a new traction pattern, maybe that's the case. There's a radial section in the heel. Then we kind of have no pattern where you can see the shank plate or pro plate, what they call it. And then we have a diamond-like pattern in the forefoot, and it really grips an indoor court quite well. I didn't have any issues with dust pickup, which is a nice thing as well. And they also feel relatively good on dusty courts. Of course, if there is excessive dust, they will struggle like most basketball shoes, but I would say it's an improved setup compared to last year. And it might also work outdoors because the cushioning is actually also very good. So I think you could take them outdoors. Maybe not the most durable setup, but if you get them on sale somewhere, they could actually be a decent outdoor basketball shoe as well, simply in terms of durability and cushioning, which we're going to talk about right now. The setup is a dual density nitro foam with the inner layer being called SQD. So it's relatively soft on the inside, and then on the outside, the second layer of the dual density layer is actually there for support and to keep it nice and stable. And in my opinion, it does a good job. It's very comfortable. You've got great stepping comfort. In my opinion, the reason for the good stepping comfort is the insole that Puma puts into the shoes. I don't know how they do it, but it's got way more compression than insoles on other basketball shoes or from other basketball brands. And they always feel very comfortable. One downside to the insole is that it kind of heats up underneath my foot like crazy when I play with them for the first couple of times. So there's a downside and a plus to that insole. But as I said, stepping comfort is very good and you have a lot of compression, especially in the heel. In my opinion, great impact protection. That's where I also think they could actually work very nicely for outdoors. The forefoot is relatively low to the ground, so I didn't have any issues there. I didn't feel like I was walking on the ground, but it was also not like I was high up and unstable. Overall, it's a very similar feel to last year's model. If I had to compare with the ALL PRO NITRO Elite, I would say these have less cushioning in the forefoot and around the same in the heel. Because the insole is too soft, I would also say stepping comfort is around the same, because the drop-in of the ALL PRO NITRO Elite was just absolutely amazing and I loved it. And I think they did a solid job here with the cushioning setup. It's nothing all too crazy, but it's still a very comfortable shoe. And overall, I also think it looks very good. The shoe itself, the silhouette is very clean. I like the Nitro logo here. Just like to have the names of the things in the shoe on the shoe itself. I think that looks cool. So we always have a little bit of an overview of what's actually underneath our feet. So for the cushioning setup, it's decent, but it's not the best cushioned basketball shoe in the market, but also not the worst. I'd give it like a solid 8 out of 10 rating. Moving on to the support features, there's a couple of changes here. I mentioned the Pro plate already. You can see it through the translucent outsole on this model. Kind of reminds me a little bit in the forefoot of the X plate we had from Adidas shoes, but then in the heel it's totally different. One thing I forgot to say about the cushioning, which is a cool detail, is that here in the heel, where we have this radial traction pattern, there's a little cutout and you can actually feel the inner layer of the dual density setup compress. It feels very soft here, so that kind of gives you a taste of how it feels underneath your foot. If you just have them in store or don't have the chance to try them on or whatever, you just want to get a quick feeling for the cushioning if they're not all too broken in, because they do take a tiny little bit to fully break in the cushioning. Now back to the support. Lacing system works very well. We have reinforced nylon lace cables. That's probably one of my favorite things about basketball shoes lately that have been releasing. We've got a lot of those cables. Just remind me of those Flyware cables back in the day on the Kobe's or on Nike shoes, and they always had excellent torsional support or just kept your foot on the footbed, which is something I need in my basketball shoes. Another support detail is that the outsole actually wraps up onto the upper a tiny little bit, which is cool and which also adds some extra support. Not really like an outrigger, but we can see it here in the forefoot a little bit and then here in the heel area as well. Here in the heel it doesn't do that much, but in the forefoot it's actually kind of nice little outrigger. If you try to twist and turn them, you can see they are incredibly stable, but then if you add a little more force, they do flex towards the midfoot area, which I don't like that much, but it's not to a point where it's discouraging. We also have a heel counter, so your heel is locked in. Didn't have issues with heel slip if I tied the laces down very tightly. And the last support detail that I have is the power tape upper. I'm just going to call it that. It's not spelled that way, but I think that's the intention behind it. It's an all textile upper, so we're going to talk about the materials simultaneously as well. All textile. It's decently soft, but as you can see here, underneath it's soft, at top it's very stiff. And on the one hand, that adds or acts as a very supportive feature, but on the other hand, it's just a big downside because it's very stiff and it pinches into your feet. And all that together with the really damn narrow fit of this shoe makes them unwearable for me for long amounts of time. For a shoot around, very nice, very comfortable, I like it. But for a real practice, I just can't because the fit is so narrow. The toe box is incredibly pointy. It's kind of like a triangle. And I just wish they would have kept the fit of the ALL PRO NITRO Elite because those were very good for wide feet with the performance of these because these are way lighter, not as clunky as the ALL PRO NITRO Elite, but unfortunately just way too narrow for me. So probably also for you. My recommendation for narrow footers is go true to size. You'll absolutely love these. For wide footers, I would say stay away from them because they're just too narrow and you can't play with them. If you really have to do it, maybe go up a full size. That's what I always do with my basketball shoes because my feet are so wide, but even here it's still too narrow just because the toe box is so pointy like a triangle, as I said. The rest of the upper actually is also very decent. It's decently padded, not too much there, but still adds for good comfort. We have some pillows here in the heel, so I didn't have any issues where the heel kind of would pinch into my Achilles or something. I also didn't notice the laces pinching into my foot, even though the tongue is actually not that big. And the shoe has average breathability. It's not the best, but it's also not the worst. I know I've said that quite some times already in this video, but that's just how the shoe feels to me. It's a good basketball shoe, but just not something we haven't seen before. A good performer, but I think there's actually going to be other shoes from Puma that might even be better this year. Maybe even the MB5s, I got those in recently, and they actually feel way better than last year's model. Maybe also the Halley 1, those felt way better than these right off the box simply because the fit was better for my feet. But overall, these are still a good basketball shoe. Just be aware that if you have wide feet, you probably won't enjoy these. Even for normal sized feet, they might be an issue. Last but not least, we're going to talk about the weight of the shoe. They are slightly lighter than the ALL PRO NITRO 1. You're going to see all the exact weights on screen because I can't remember them, even though I just did it like 10 minutes ago. You also have the grams and ounces there, so depending on which system you use. So slightly lighter than last year's model and way lighter than the ALL PRO NITRO Elite because those were really clunky and heavy. And now to round off the video, where would I put them on my scale of 0 to book 1? Probably around a 7.5, 8 out of 10 overall. So close to the book 1, but not really there. So like you're going to see it on screen anyways. A good basketball shoe with some things that I wish would be very different. I think if they were wider, they would be way closer to the book 1. But as of right now, because they're so narrow, I just can't play with them for long amounts of time or for like the exhausting practices where I can't have or where I don't want to worry about which shoes I have on my feet. With all that being said, I would really appreciate if you could leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. Of course, if you didn't enjoy, you can also leave some feedback options in the comments down below. Or let me know which shoe I should review next. There's a couple of ones I got up there in list. I mentioned the MB5 already. I got the Halley 1 in there as well. And I know there's one guy who's always commenting I should do the SP1 Player 1 Plus review. I'm going to do it. As said in the last video, I just want to finish up the newer shoes that came in. Now with all that out of the way, I would really appreciate if you could also take the time to subscribe to my channel, as that would help me out a lot. Have a good one. See you next time for more performance reviews.